So what's going on, you guys? I usually try to make videos a little bit more like in depth than this, but I just wanted to quickly come on here and answer a couple of questions that I got from a subscriber. Goes by Perfect My Blade or Perfect My Blade. I thought these were good questions. I thought that these were, you know, something that could be applicable to the newer fencer at large, and so yeah, why don't we just go over them now. But before we start, I would super appreciate if you leave a like, a comment, a share, and subscribe. Do all of those things. It really helps the channel. Thank you for your question, Perfect My Blade, and let's get into it. So how do you approach an opponent who is taller than you and actually get an advantage on them? So this is a difficult question, man, and this is really kind of, it boils down to like what fencing is all about, because like we'll get more into this, but like at the end of the day, you really just have to fence better, right? You want to be more athletic, you want to be faster than them, and you want to be, you know, thinking more steps ahead than they are. Fencing a taller opponent, especially one who's like skilled and knows how to like use their height advantage, like, you know, like for their best benefit, like that's a challenge for sure. It's a challenge for anyone. And so this is actually something that I've struggled with like myself, right? And that I've sought advice with myself. I'm like 5'7", so this is, you know, not exactly tall by male standards. And so, you know, in the past when I've asked that question, you know, I got a deeply like dissatisfying answer, which is just basically get good, right? Basically you have to fence better. And obviously that was never really, you know, satisfying. And I've come to learn like a couple of things that I think could help you. Firstly, it's not super unadvisable to like try and get lower, right? Actually trying to like maximize that height disparity can actually work in your favor a little bit, as it will minimize the amount of open target that taller person will have. The lower that you get, the more you erase sort of your legs and your lower body like out of their like, you know, potential targets. And you as a defensive fighter, if you're going to choose to act defensively, which you shouldn't do, and we'll get to this, you only have to manage your upper openings. Now, you don't want to do this at the expense of like your mobility and your footwork. You really like want to train your legs as much as possible so that you can still have mobility like in these lower positions. But if you don't, like, it's best to get close to them and not like all the way, right? You still want to be able to move, especially again against a taller opponent. And then number two, kind of the mental aspect of the game. I see sort of three types of fencers, right? We have aggressive people, defensive people, and then something that we call dancers, which are people who flow in between these two states. Now, really, firstly, before anything, you want to try to develop like the better aspects of those three fencing archetypes, right? You want to make sure that you have a good aggressive game, a good defensive game, and you're able to flow in between those two states really like at a moment's notice, right? This is fencing. But it can also be helpful to like really try and recognize like what type of fighter that tall opponent is, right? And like I said, going back to like my first point with this, you do not want to be defensive against a taller opponent, right? If your opponent is defensive, that's when a smaller opponent can beat a taller person, right? Is when that taller person is usually defensive. The reason why you don't want to be defensive against a taller opponent, though, is because like you are starting to play into their like strong suits, right? Obviously, you don't want to fight a taller opponent like at distance, right? Because they simply just have a greater distance than you. So really, when we're fighting a taller opponent, especially when this person like knows how to fence well, we're kind of relegated, and we need to like take heart like in ourselves, and we have to be aggressive. We have to push the pace. We have to get into the pocket where we try to start to stifle them, and we start to box them in, and it gives us a space in which we can work, and we are dictating what's going on. Because if we don't, if we fight them at range, again, we are fighting them to their strong suits, and then they will take over control of the fight. And so this doesn't just mean like, you know, spam first intention fleshes or anything like that, right? Like we can work ourselves in a defensive manner. Something that I like to do quite often is if we're both in a sort of second guard like this, an extended 5, right? We can bind their blade to like one direction. We can take a step in at that, and we can make them instinct cut on the other side, and then we can be ready for that. We can have the parry ready, and then we can riposte and like get in. This is a sequence that I use quite often. But yeah, so as far as your first question, wrapping up, number one, you can get low to minimize their targets. And number two, you're gonna have to be aggressive. We do not want to fight them at range. Your second question now, how do you deal with a small opponent who has quick and odd attacks? Well, going back to my first piece of advice, if you have the range on that person, then where should you be fighting them from? Right? Keep it there, right? What does this encompass? This means footwork, right? This means having good mobility. This means keeping perfect distance. If they take a step and you are not ready to attack, you take a step back. Use your distance as the first line of defense. Your third question, how do you defend against a person who spams different angled Molinees? I don't know why I use the term Molinee. It could be any sort of attack, right? But I understand the question, and I feel like in a way this sort of might connect with the previous question. How do you deal with a smaller opponent who has quick and odd attacks, right? Spams different angle Molinees. So this is not an uncommon problem, especially for intermediate fencers. It really is the mark of like mastery or true skill, not when, you know, the rank 1 can beat the rank 2, right? The rank 1 should be more afraid of somebody who's never fought before in their life. There are a certain set of principles and unspoken rules of engagement that fencers understand, and this is how we really reach the heights of good fencing. One of those principles is priority, right? And the Germans call this vor and nach, right? The real crux of this issue, and something that I like to drive home with any new student within the first month that they come to me, is that they shouldn't be attacking into attacks, into attacks, into attacks. We're not prioritizing defense, and we're really not fencing. So just judging on these couple of questions, I would like to ask, you know, a couple of things of this fencer. I'd like to see them fence, because I have a suspicion that they may be misunderstanding, you know, this core value. Yeah, I definitely think that there's a strong possibility that this person may not be approaching fencing in the correct way. One thing that you could do to punish that is, like, you know, throw your afterblow, right? Don't pull your afterblow. If they attack you in a way that leaves them completely wide open, they're not attacking you in a safe manner, and you should punish them for that. Hit them. Number 4, how do you prevent panic during matches? Again, this may go back to like these other questions. I mean, are you like legitimately scared for your safety, like in your sparring? If so, that's a deeper like club level issue that you probably need to like talk to some people about. Again, I go back to these other like past 2 questions about, you know, spamming attacks into attacks. I'm really sort of suspect that this could be the case, because it's not just like how hard we're throwing attacks or the type of attacks that we do that are dangerous. It's the mentality and the frame of mind that we approach fencing at that is dangerous, or that can be dangerous rather. But if I take your question at face value, how do we prevent panic? Number 1, man, confidence comes through competence, right? Practice, practice, practice. And the way that you practice has an impact too. Like, I find that like a lot of people, they care too much about winning, right? And this, like, you know, this can make them seize up in matches. Now, we're not really talking about tournaments here. We are talking about like at the club level. Like, if we're at a tournament, you should care about winning. Like, that's the purpose, right? But you should go into that with a quiet, calm confidence and even enjoyment of what it is that you're doing. But at the club level, frankly, we really shouldn't be focused on winning at all. We should be focused on working the better aspects of our game, working at funneling our opponent into those better aspects of our game. And number 2, working on things that we are bad at, right? We need to walk into class every single session, and we need to pick 1 or 2 things that we know that we suck at, and we need to just relegate ourselves to sucking, practicing those things, because there is no other way for them to get better other than for us to try them, to fail at them, to get hit because of it, and then to try and try again. So don't focus on winning, focus on working the aspects of your game that need to be worked on. But yeah, that pretty much settles like all of your questions. You say that you're a beginner. I think that's totally cool. I hope that you continue practicing Don't stop. That is the one thing that separates people who are bad, who are good, from who are the best. It's just that the best never stop, right? They enjoy it. They love, the art of it, the practical application of it, the tournaments, and just the swords themselves. And you just keep going, and you never ever stop. That's how you're going to get better. Good luck to you, my friend. I hope that this has been helpful, and for anybody else who might be new or even an experienced fencer who this has helped, I hope that it did. I am honored to do so. And once again, guys, don't stop fencing. We will see you later.